Today's practice will be one of my favorites. It's an intro to yin practice. And this practice is great if you have a lot of joint pain, immobility, if you are an athlete, if you sit a lot. Pretty much everybody can benefit from this practice. And I am going to focus on hips and areas for runners and athletes and people who sit a lot. Our angel cards. Let's see what our angel reading is for the day. Which angel comes our way? The angel of group consciousness. Well, isn't that something right now? I trust and act according to my soul's guidance every day. Soul's consciousness is an all-embracing and is a strong connection within groups. In the soul dimension, we are not separate entities, and we are fully aware of our service to humanity and to the planet. To have group consciousness is to respond to the guidance that comes from the soul and to be synchronized in the right place with the right people and action. And it shows 5 angels on the card, which we're not supposed to get together with more than 5 people. Isn't that just something? And here I have, of course, my water, so make sure you have water to hydrate. And I am diffusing. I felt like the multicolored knob of all the colors today. Diffusing some frankincense, which is good for meditation, which is great for yin versus the yang practice. Oh, bless you. My puppies are sneezing. And we have some orange for some citrus, vitamin C, and thieves, of course, for just cleaning the air and keeping it nice and fresh. Yin. So let's start in child's pose. And child's pose can be a yin pose in itself. It's great for the ankles, for the back, pretty much the whole body. It's a great inversion. The shape is bringing your big toes to touch, your knees wide, your hips shifting back, your arms out, your forehead down on your mat. And for those of you that are comfortable here, wonderful. I'm getting my timer. And I'll talk about why. If you need to take your blanket or your towel and roll it up, you can put it underneath the ankles or underneath your knees for more support. If you have a block or a folded bath towel, you can use it under the forehead if you feel like you need to be elevated. And there's how you put the blanket here. And you take your blanket roll, sit up. You have to lean forward, put it in the knee crease, and shift back for a little release. And again, you can use your block and or your folded up towel underneath your forehead and take the time to breathe. I'll set the timer. Stay in your child's pose while I speak to you a little bit. You want to try to focus on lengthening your breath here. You don't want to put a lot of effort into it, but you want to relax. This is an inversion. It's a great pose to let your mind relax, let your body relax. When you're inhaling, you might feel your ribs expand a little bit. Depending what shape your child's pose is in, you might feel it on your thighs or inner thighs. As you exhale, you may feel your tailbone draw back a little bit towards your heels, creating some room in your lower back. And from here, check in with your body from head to toe. Notice how you feel with the body that you have right now. I have my pet husky here with me. This is Dakota. A lot of times Dakota sits in his chair, his little throne, looking out his window while I practice here. You might have your pets with you too, your children, your spouse. So taking this time, checking in with yourself emotionally, physically, and accepting whatever is at this moment. That's part of the journey. I'll take another minute here. Notice if your mind is busy or quiet, and see if maybe you can count your breath. So you can count your inhales, you can count your exhales. Inhaling for 4 to 6 counts, for an example, exhaling for 6 to 8 counts, just slowing down your body, your mind. About 5 more breaths here. Staying in this shape, walk your arms to the right. And as you walk your arms to the right, your left side body gets long. So you're feeling a stretch somewhere between your pinky and your hip. So I'm kind of reaching to my left pinky, and notice I'm shifting my hip and kind of sitting back into a little bit, creating a rainbow shape in my left body. I'm lifting the arm and pressing down through the armpit. That helps, and breathe. And let's move to the other side. Just getting a little movement in before our first yin pose. So in yin, it's interesting because we have to hold our shape for a minimum of really 3 minutes. So today we will hold our shapes for 3 minutes. For those of you that want to hold longer, I encourage you to press pause when we continue on so that you can stay. Let's come up to tabletop. So in tabletop, and by the way, if you need more cushion, please put a blanket folded out or something under your knees. Take your hands underneath your shoulders and spread your fingers really, really wide. It's a great finger stretch from texting and typing. Your hips are back so that they're underneath your knees. And as you inhale, lift the head, the tailbone, drop the belly. The eyes and the elbows kind of roll forward. As you exhale, take your spine the other direction. Lift the middle back towards the ceiling. Tuck your forehead, your tailbone together. Inhaling, going the other direction. Exhale and rounding. Inhaling. Exhaling. 2 more here. Oh, these essential oils smell good right now. 1 more time. Sitting back into your heels. Setting your intention for your practice, and in your intention it could be about your angel of group consciousness or working as groups, and it can also be anything else. So setting your intention for your practice. And our first shape will be our swan, which some of you might know as pigeon. And in swan, what we need to do is bring our right knee forward, our left leg behind us. Traditionally, you can come from tabletop or downward facing dog, where you slide your right knee forward, your left leg behind you. From here, you work on rolling your left hip forward, right hip back, and walking your way down to recline and relax into the shape. Now, some things that you can do is you can take your blanket and fold it up. If you don't have a thick yoga blanket and you have a small, thin one, you might want to think about using a bath towel because it has an extra thickness. You want to fold it up as thick as you need to, in a couple places that you can put it is underneath the back thigh. So I may put it here and have it kind of on my thigh, and it gives me just a little bit of relief there for my back kneecap, and it also allows my front outer thigh to rest down a little bit. Now for years I've been teaching group fitness since 1991 I started. And it was always flex your foot to protect your knee. Well, the last few videos I've seen, it doesn't make a difference. What I say is be mindful. So as you move your joints, When you're moving your body, never force a joint into a pose. You want to relax and breathe into it and make sure you're listening to your body. So if it feels good to flex your foot to go into a shape, do it. If it doesn't really matter to you, then don't focus on it. Just focus on feeling safe. If we're not feeling supported enough in pigeon, for those of you that are in your pigeon shape, just keep relaxing in it. This might be enough time for you because I'm not setting the timer until everybody feels comfortable in their shape and I've shown all options. So the next shape, are you saying hi to Code? The next shape or option for the shape is taking this and folding it up, maybe even higher, and putting it just underneath your front outer hip. So I'll turn around to show you this one actually. I take this under the right hip, I bring the knee here, leg back. So now I have more height, I have more room for the knee, it's not as straining. And then I can use my block to come here. Again, the back hip, you want to roll it kind of forward. Sometimes you can tuck your back toes to lift your back kneecap to roll it under a little bit. And now I'll set the time for 3 minutes. Your job, everybody, is relax into this. For those of you that are like, there's no way I'm doing that, don't worry, I've got you, you're gonna come with me. For those of you that are in your traditional swan, stay there and try to relax as much as you can. Let the shape happen, relax your breathing. The rest of you, you'll either come to sitting in your chair or laying on your back. I'll first show you what you can do laying on your back. You come laying to your back. This is what I like to call figure 4. We all have different things we like to call. Most of you will need to move your ponytail out of the way. Some of you will need cushion below you. And you start with your feet down, your hips down. Take your right leg up, bend the knee, cross the ankle over left thigh, and hang out here. If you're feeling a good stretch in that outer right hip, you're good to go. If you feel like you want more, you can either take a block under the foot for a little higher height. You can wrap your hand around your hamstring and bring it in, or you can bring it around your shin or extend your leg up. Wherever you are, relax as much as you can. Close your eyes or soften your gaze and practice not thinking. You should feel something edgy, but not painful. Three more breaths here. You're going to come back to the mat to show you how to exit. Wherever you exit, you want to exit slow and you want to exit somewhere where you can let your right leg straighten. So I'm tucking my left toes, lifting my hips, and I'm taking my right leg up, or I'm going to tabletop, taking my right leg back. Some of you will take the next minute and lay down on your belly. Some of you might just take your back leg or your left leg, sweep it around and take your hands behind you. Take a full minute here. We want to let our connective tissues kind of come back and rebound from that. For those of you that got into it right away, it was perfect because you did about 5 to 6 minutes in that shape, which you never want to really go over like the 6 to 7 minute mark. Notice how the hip feels. And as you practice, you might have questions, so know that you can reach out to me anytime. Just send me a message or an email. We'll take 5 more breaths. If you need to do some cat-cows or shake your leg out from down dog, sometimes it feels good to kind of shake the leg out or take the leg and kind of shake it out from here. So now for side 2, you know where you're going. You have your left leg sliding forward, right sliding back. If you're on your back, lay on your back, cross your left over. Notice if your hips feel really crooked. I like to take my hands on my hip points and see if they're crooked or not, so kind of work on that. And then if you're in your chair, please don't get up and down like I do. I gotta work on doing that correctly. Cross in here. And take about 3 minutes to drop in, one breath at a time, and see if you can use your breath to relax around the areas that feel super tense. And remember, it's really important to go past the 2-minute mark so you get into that connective tissue, all that really tight fascia. That's what really counts. So breathe. I'm going to take the next couple minutes and be really quiet so that you can kind of quiet your mind and shut your mind off a little bit. When you notice your mind, think about random thoughts. Come back to thinking about your inhales and exhales. Noticing how your body feels. And quieting where the tension is. Keep relaxing your breath. That's the #1 most important thing. You just got past your mind and your muscles. Your connective tissues are starting to get the work right now. Just breathe. About 5 more breaths here. If you were in your 5 to 6 minute shape on the other side, please pause this for about 2 more minutes-ish, maybe 3, okay? And then come back on. And the rest of you, please take that time to lengthen your left leg, whether you want to lengthen it from down dog behind you, somewhere to recover where your left leg can be straight on your back, seated, tabletop. In yin, there's no right or wrong. In yoga, there are thousands of poses, hundreds of thousands of poses within each pose. Every single body is a different shape. So especially in yin, there's no right or wrong. It's about feeling that sensation, that tension in your hips or your connective tissue. Right now, it's our hips usually. And letting it go. Letting all of it go. Past the muscle in that deep fascia. 5 to 10 more breaths here. And this is my favorite go-to practice. It's what I give a lot of my healing credit to, is taking the time for yin. It's helped me learn my body. It can help you learn yours too. And if you're an athlete, you don't need to turn to yoga for anything strength-wise because you're already doing that stuff. This is the kind of yoga you need to go with the rest of your practice. Okay, shake it out, do what you need to do, and come to your seated position. Forward folds are a very big tradition in yin. If you have magic discs, like I like to call them magic discs, not bad discs, not bulging discs, but magic discs because they've gotten us this far in life. You can lay down with your knees bent, do something that feels comfortable. Here we are, you can have your legs up the wall or up the chair. For those of you that have hamstrings that are pretty tight, right? We just need to get them out of the way. It'll make things much easier. In fact, let me show you. When I don't get my hamstrings out of the way, okay? If I'm feeling a lot of tension, I have a couple options. I can stack blocks for my forehead, which is what I prefer. But some of you might need a little bit of bend in the knee, and that's okay too. Take your blocks or your thick bath towels, right? And you can, from here, I can lift my legs and just take the blocks and the blanket to make it nice and cushy with my knee crease over it. I'm getting a little bit of bend and it helps me get a little deeper. So it depends what feels better for your spine. Take the time here to fold. Some of you might need to prop yourself up, where you take your folded up blanket, right? You can even fold it higher. You fold it to where you need it, make a little mini stool, and sit up on it. And let your maybe forearms rest here. And for those of you in traditional yin, we're lengthened and we're folding. Now while you hang out here, we're already starting our 3-minute mark. You're breathing, we're stretching all the way from your heel to the top of your head. And for those of you that want to try this in a chair, I like to have people do this one at a time. So what we'll do is one leg for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, and then switch. You can always pause and do longer. One thing when we practice meditation in quiet, one thing that's really cool is when you learn, it doesn't have to be quiet to learn to meditate. Meditation isn't about sitting in this perfect environment. It's really about learning to quiet your mind and think about one thing at a time. Now you're just thinking about breathing and feeling your body in these shapes. For those of you that want to practice sitting in a chair, you need 2 chairs. You might not even need a chair. You can take one leg straight and fold forward like so. I'm sitting towards the edge of my seat, but I'm feeling supported. I have one hand, or my hands on one thigh, the other leg extended with my feet flexed to get the back of the leg. Or you take that second chair and put your leg up on the chair to get the back here. For those of you that are one leg, make sure you're switching that. For those of you that are whatever shape you're in, please keep breathing. And don't worry about how long it's been, that's my job. Your job is to try to practice not thinking, try to quiet your mind, and create space between each vertebrae with each breath. Those of you that like longer yin holds, please press pause for a few minutes and continue your fold. Hopefully your phone is by you so that you don't have to reach to press pause. And for those of you that are in your forward fold, whether you're still in your chair or you're on your mat, whether you have props or not, walk your hands up super slow. So I cut my fingers, I like to walk them 1 little inch at a time. Bring my shoulders towards up, I go really slow. And I walk my hands somewhere behind me so I get that openness the other direction. And from here, I relax my legs. If you have props, and maybe get them out of the way, extend. And I like to sway my legs back and forth. I like to round and point and flex. We have a lot of lymph nodes in these areas that we're working and opening. So this is really good to strengthen our immune system, which is great. That's a great bonus, right? And we have a lot in our ankles. When we sit in chairs, our feet get tight. We flex them all day. So to simply round your ankles to point and flex, so good for you. So let's think about the places that we've worked so far. We've opened up our outer hips. We've opened our spine this way, okay? The next shape I want to teach you is called Sphinx pose. And we do this from our belly. First thing I like to do is move everything out of the way. If you feel like you need more support, put a blanket down over your mat. I actually am going to add that. I tend to have sensitive like bone, even though my mat's thicker. So I'll take one of these blankets, and it's double folded. And it happens to be the length of a yoga mat. If you have trouble finding a yoga blanket, let me know. Like I said, bath towels work totally fine. And I was here. So if you make your way to your back, from here, simply roll to your belly. And we start this shape with our forehead down, with our hands stacked, and our forehead resting on our hands. Now what I do, you're going to be looking down, but I'm trying to help you see and hear here. So look at my legs here. I'm lengthening, so I lift my knee to lengthen my hip flexor. I do one leg at a time. I point my toes, and I'm trying to get as much length in my leg. And from here, my forehead's down. I relax everything. If this feels good in your lower back, stay there. Just stay with your head down, your hands stacked. This is so good for your discs. If you have magic discs, try to do this every day. Okay? For those of you that want more for your spine, as a back bend the other direction of what we just did, walk up to your elbows. So you simply take your hands up. I should put my ponytail back in now that I'm not laying on my back. My shoulder right over the elbow, both sides, and you might need to walk your elbows a little forward, a little out to find that place. Shoulders away from your ears. Let them kind of shrug and let your head hang. This is one of my favorites. It's called Seal, and it is really good. Look at my back. It's like I get to totally do the opposite of what I do in a chair. I'm letting my head hang, which is good if you text. And if it doesn't feel so good, please prop whatever you need under to rest your forehead on. For those of you who want more intensity, if you have your blanket, I highly encourage you to move it out of the way. Your hands are at an angle, and you come up for Seal. Now, no matter where you choose, your glutes are completely relaxed. If you have to squeeze your glutes, you're too deep. So let your glutes relax. Hang your head. You can maybe sway it out. Taking your time here for those of you that have been in it. For those of you just started. For those of you in a chair, your job is to open your heart. So what you'll do is walk your hands behind you. You might not stay the full 3 minutes, but you walk your hands behind you and lift your chest to open and breathe here. The other thing that you can do, put my hair up now, take the opportunity. Look at all the dog hair on me, so good. So the other thing that you can do is take your hands on a chair, bend your knees, engage your core, and walk back to stretch here. About halfway there, whatever shape you're in, just keep breathing. You probably feel some sensation around your neck, your shoulders, your lower back, your hip flexors. Those are all normal places to feel this stretch. Keep breathing. Continue relaxing your mind. Focus on your inhales and your exhales. To 10 more breaths here. If you're in our chair, just sitting neutral or back somewhere comfortable. Whatever back bend you're in, if you are lifted, come to your forearms. We'll meet there. If you're all the way down, stay down. If you're on your forearms, now slowly come back to where we started with our forehead resting on our hands. Stay here. Pay attention to how your spine feels, keeping it neutral, resting here without movement yet. Bring your arms along your sides and turn and look over your right shoulder to start. A mirror image here. Really reach your fingertips towards your ears. Feel that space between your ear and shoulder. And really turn your chin towards your right shoulder and stretch the left side. Take a few more breaths there. Carefully lift your head, turn, look the other way for about 5 breaths or so here. Most people after this, before coming to your back, like some cat-cows. So if your spine's feeling like, yes, I need some cat-cows, press yourself up to your hands and knees and take some cat-cows. The other option is where we're going next, is to our backs for the rest of our practice. You can bend your knees, bring your knees to your chest and kind of rock side to side here. What's important is that you give your body the movement that it needs. Sometimes I feel like completely resting in between. I don't feel like moving at all. So make sure you're giving yourself what you need. Our next shape is a spinal twist, and a spinal twist is a good overall shape, getting through the side of our spine, moving and getting it in a different direction. And the way we're going to open our spine in our spinal twist is starting on our backs with our knees bent. And for those of you that know your spinal twist, you'll go into it immediately, and that way you'll catch up with your time. If you want to go longer than 3 minutes. I push down with my feet, I lift my hips just a little bit, and I kind of swing them to the right edge of my mat, so I'm crooked. I bring my knees up and drop my knees to the left. Now here's where you have to make some decisions. You want to kind of scoot your left hip under. You want your hips kind of stacked on top of each other. It doesn't have to be perfect. Your both knees can be bent. Your bottom leg can straighten. Your top leg can bend and wrap around it. You can wrap your top leg around your bottom. There's so many angles for your hips, your knees, And all of them are correct. It's whatever is the sensation you want for the body you have right now. And with that being said, we roll the right chest and shoulder open. We bring our arms out wide. You can have your palms up or down, your arms cactus. If you want more of your side body, you can bring your arm by your side as long as your arm is resting down or your hand. It's about where your body wants to twist. And from there, same with your head. Which way do you want to look? Do you want to look straight up, to the left, or to the right? Whatever your twist is, anytime you get up, you want to press and use your core if you're rocking up from your back, or press with your arms to sit up. But you're going to stay down in your twist. When you're in your twist, you're breathing into that right rib cage. You're breathing into both ribs always, both sides always. But really get into your right lung space here, effortlessly. So you're relaxing your breath, but make sure you're feeling that lung lift and lower. You want to feel anywhere from your right shoulder, chest, rib cage, hip, outer thigh. The twist, it depends upon your body, the shape that you're in, but there are so many areas that you could feel or anywhere I didn't mention. Continue to breathe. For those of you in a chair, I'm going to go there and show you what you're doing. Sitting in your chair up tall. You're twisting to the side. So what I'm doing is I'm lifting and turning and looking over my right shoulder. And as I turn and look over my right shoulder comes with, my right hand comes behind me. Left hand somewhere on the outside of your left leg. And as you inhale, lift your heart. As you exhale, use a little bit of your hand strength to help your spine twist further. We never force our neck. In fact, you might want to turn so your chin's back even with your chest and feel your twist more from your ribs. We get really tight in these intercostal muscles from strength work, from core work, from slouching, so we want to open them up and breathe. Good for digestion. This is so good for digestion. And play around with if you're sitting in your chair, same thing. How does it feel to turn your head all the way this way? How does it feel to turn your head the other way? Continue to breathe. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. I have to remind myself of that all the time. Continue practice quieting your mind. We think all day long. That's what our minds do. Our minds are addicted to thinking. It's part of the journey. See if you can think less. 5 more breaths here. Of course, if any of you feel like you want to stay longer, just press pause or ignore me and keep resting in that twist. Feeling edgy, but not straining. Make sure you're breathing. And carefully release back to your back, either resting on your back with your knees bent or your legs straight. And here's the trick to resting comfortably with your knees bent on your back. The key to resting comfortably is to walk your feet wide so that your inner thighs and knees can rest together or towards one another, depending upon your hips. And let everything recover. Close your eyes or soften your gaze and see if you can notice some different sensations one side versus the other, because we're half done. That's one of the beautiful parts of this practice, is we get to know our bodies so much better. If you need some kind of movements or adjusting before we twist to the second side, take the time now. I forgot to mention, it's good if you like silence, great. If you like relaxing music, you can always add that. I should have told you that. Lift your hips and shift them to the left. Knees in, drop them to the right. Take the time to set up your twist the same way you set up. Decide if you're going to look to the left, to the right, or straight. Decide if you are going to keep both knees bent, straighten your bottom right leg, or wrap your legs. If you're sitting in the chair, you're twisting to the left. Time has begun, and I'm going to quiet myself so that you can really know what it feels like to be still and quiet for the time it takes to get your muscles and your mind out of the way. When you notice a thought come, notice if there's an emotion attached to it, or if it's just a random thought. Notice briefly, let the thought kind of drift away. Come back to your inhale and your exhale, over and over and over again. If you'd like to stay longer, or if you stayed longer on the other side, please press pause for your couple minutes. Other than that, you have 5 breaths or so here. When your body feels ready to move, carefully come back to your back for your temporary rest again. If that felt good to rest with your knees bent, allow your feet to go wide so your knees can come together, or allow your legs to extend with your feet wider and see if that feels good too. Take your time here. We have one final pose before our Shavasana. I call it reclined butterfly. We can also do, I like to call reclined tree pose twice if we need to do less. Here's what we do. You're already on your back, so stay there. We bend our knees, take the bottom of your feet together and your knees out. And as you take your knees out again, I like to know where my hip points are. Are they really crooked? Are they feeling pretty even? Where my ribs are? and I allow my knees to drop. And if that's really tense, you can take your blankets either underneath your outer thighs to support you. So I take my blanket, I fold it, and I use it like so. And I use another one on the other side. The other thing you can do to support yourself, if it's really intense, is straighten one leg and keep one leg bent. So you're doing one side at a time. From here, this is our last official yin shape. For those of you that are doing half, don't you worry. I will let you know when we're halfway there. When you think about this shape, think about what your body is doing when you're sitting in a chair. When you're sitting in a chair, your inner thighs and your inner groin are so confined all day long. When you're sleeping, when you're sitting eating breakfast, sitting on the couch, sitting in the car, sitting at work, sitting on your way home, sitting to relax, and it's just a constant cycle. Anytime we can open up our inner groin and our inner hips, it is really good for us. And again, a lot of lymph nodes there. When we release the front of our body, it helps release the pulling on our lower back as well. So for some people that practice yin, they feel less strain or pulling in the lower back. So you never know notice what you might notice. This is so good for all of that. Keep breathing through it. Your arms, we didn't talk about that. You can either let your hands rest on your belly or your cactus-shaped arms to get into your chest and shoulders, or simply along your sides, palms up. For those of you that are half, you'll take 5 more breaths or so here. If you're in a chair, one thing that you can do is walk your feet wide. You can do one at a time. You're sitting wide like an L, and you can turn, you can do one at a time this way. For those of you that are halfway, please switch. Or if you wanted to work more of that diamond shape, you could do half. You bring your knee up, take your foot outer edge on the chair, drop your knee out to the side. There is your half diamond, and you can lean forward instead of laying down. So there are some options for you. This is a great yin pose to end practice with because Shavasana is right here for you. If you have a lot of distractions and you don't have an eye pillow, you can use an eye towel. I mean, not an eye towel, but a face cloth as an eye pillow or eye towel. If your lower back is feeling a little interesting after all the work you've just done for your connective tissue, you can rest again with your knees bent like we showed. But if you don't want to hold your legs up like that, you can set up like you did for your forward fold for your hamstrings. But you'd have to get up to do so. Just get up carefully, roll to one side, use your arm strength to push up. But you can take your blocks and your blanket for laying in your Shavasana. Okay? So the way we do this, we come to laying on our backs, and again, use the blocks underneath your knees for a little more support, arms by your sides. Please stay in this Shavasana shape, whether on your side, relaxed in your chair with your support, for as long as you possibly can. This is a great shape to seal in all of this hard work you've given for your connective tissues. This is such a healthy practice. Thank you so much. Reach out if you have questions. Namaste.